Yo, what is going on, everybody? It is your man Lorenzo, of course, and I want to welcome you to another Let That Marinate podcast episode. Hope all is well with you. Hope everybody is doing great. It's another blessed day. Glad to be in the number one more time, like the old folks used to say back in the day. Listen, man, I want to get into something real quick. Very, very, very unfortunate situation happened recently, and I'm pretty sure everybody has seen it. So recently there was a what was the headline was a mass shooting took place in Shreveport, Louisiana. And when I saw that, I was like, here we go again with another school shooting. When is this going to ever end? Like, when are we going to do something about this? But as I read up on it, um, it actually wasn't a school shooting. It was a um, so so the situation is 10 people were shot, 8 people lost their lives, and the victims um, were children. The victims were kids, babies. I believe the age range was from 3 to 11. I believe. It says here one was 3, another child was 5, another 6, 7, 10, and 11. Another one was 6, and another one was 5. Very, very, very a very tragic situation. And then the other two, I believe, were 2 female victims who are, as we speak, they're fighting for their lives. So my thoughts and prayers definitely go out to the families of the victims. My prayers goes out to anyone affected by this situation. This is a very, very unfortunate situation. Um, and what makes it even more unfortunate is that the victims were actually the family of the shooter. That's what makes it so much more unfortunate, because these were his kids. I believe 7 of the kids were belonged to him. So it was very, you know, uh, it's a very sad situation. Very sad situation. And when I read this, I was like, yo, this has got to be a sick individual, because how are you, like, why would you take the lives of innocent, precious babies? Like, why would you do this? What's like, come on. What would lead you to do something like this? And the more I read the story, the more um, you know, a little bit more information started coming out, and it was stated that the young man was struggling with some serious mental health issues. Also stated that he was stressed about, things that was going on with his marriage. His wife uh, wanted to get wanted a divorce, so he was, battling with that. So here's the part that I really wanted to get into, because those who know me know I'm a very strong mental health advocate. I am someone who has struggled with mental health issues myself. Tried to commit suicide twice. So much was going on. I was in a dark place, and I just did not want to be here. I did not want to continue to live, because I just felt like things wasn't going right, and I felt like things were never going to get better for me. And these were things that, um, you know, it's just a combination of a lot of things since childhood. And I was, I was just ready to end it all. You know what I mean? Um, I had, I told my mom, I told several people about this, about, me wanting to take my life. And, when before I actually tried to take my life, I called my mother. And my mother, of course, called someone at the time, to come and see about me. Um, Fortunately, they came, they called 911, and they came and took me to the hospital. You know, so it's a good thing that um, you know help was available at the time, right? So the thing is, though, as I was reading up on this, um, so you know, of course, people who knew him, uh, they interviewed them. Family members, people who he worked with, they interviewed them, and the parents who were interviewed, his mom, his stepfather. Um, there was a line that stood out to me, um, that came from the stepfather. So when they asked him, they asked him questions. I think they may have asked when when did they speak with him last, or what was said, or or whatever. They mentioned that he said that he was having suicidal thoughts. He was just drowning in dark thoughts. He was stressed about his marriage. He was just really battling with a lot. And the line that stood out again came from the stepfather. The line was, "I told him you can beat stuff. I don't care what you're going through. You can beat it." Now, I don't want to make it sound like I'm defending anyone or I'm blaming anyone, but when someone is telling you that they're having suicidal thoughts, um, that's something that you cannot just brush over. You cannot just, you know, um, ignore something like that. Granted, a lot of us are not, we're not doctors. We don't, you know what I mean. We don't have the proper diagnosis. We don't have, you know, uh, we don't really know how to, you know, really approach that sort of thing. We don't know how to properly, help someone who's dealing with that sort of thing. Um, and and I get it. None of us are medical experts. You know, um, I get that. We can only do what we can only do what we can, with the capacity that we have when it comes to that sort of thing. All we know how to do is just, offer support, be there for them in whatever way that we can. Um, totally get it. But I just don't think that that response was the right response. I don't think that wasn't the best way to approach it. If anything, when he first mentioned suicidal thoughts, um, and maybe this is just me, my instant uh reaction would be, well, let me go over to his house. Let me go to where he is. Let me go to, you know, let me, see if I can get to let me get to wherever they may be. So we can really, see what we can do to help them get through this. right? And again, a lot of us, we're not medical experts. We're not licensed therapists. We don't know what to say. We don't know how to approach it. However, we do have to make sure that we're delicate when it comes to that, because that is a very serious thing. That is a very serious matter that needs to be taken more seriously, because a person saying that they're having suicidal thoughts, that's a person that's crying out for help. That's a person that really needs some help. And sometimes you just have to forget about what you don't know, or forget about, you know, sometimes you just have to think, you just have to keep in mind that, you know, this person is really, in need of some help. Maybe and I'm sure you're saying to yourself, I'm not the right person for the job. However, let me see if I can find someone that can help with that. Let me see if I can, let me see if I can do more than just, you know, tell someone, I don't care what you're going through. You can beat this. Right? Like it can't, like it's just, I feel like there should have been more done on the family's end, to help, you know, to help alleviate. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, well, I guess in a way I am. I guess I am saying that maybe they could have, you know, helped save him from, doing something crazy. Because from my understanding, uh, the young man, he also lost his life too. Now, they're saying that they don't know if it's from, if this was done at the hands of the police or if this was a self-inflicted thing. But he's no longer here as well. I think he drove off, and the police was chasing him. Um, Next thing you know, he's no longer here. So my thing is, the man clearly needed help. He needed help, and at the time, help wasn't available. Now, I'm not defending him. I am not defending. I'm not defending him uh, taking away the lives of those precious babies. I'm not defending him, you know, uh, putting his wife, because his wife was one of the victims also. She, uh, according to the report, she's fighting for her life, as well as um, the other young lady that he shot as well. They're both fighting for their lives, and again, my heart prayers go out to them, and as well as the families. But yes, I'm not defending him, because uh, it was saying the way that, you know the victims lost their lives. It was done execution style, right? So, um, but I just can't help but, you know, I can't help but, like, I felt like something could have been done to prevent this. I felt like something, you know, should have been done, because it's not as if, it's not like no one knew that he was struggling with mental health issues. It's not like no one knew that he was having suicidal thoughts. People knew. His parents knew. I think they interviewed a coworker of his. It said that he worked for UPS, and a coworker of his said that, he mentioned that he did seem a little off. The coworker mentioned how, he would always come to work looking like he was stressed, looking like he was going through something. So people knew. that he was battling mentally. So, and that's why I'm like, okay, well, why wasn't anything done to help this man? Why wasn't anything done, to get this man some help? Like, if you saw the signs, right? You saw the signs, you saw something wasn't right. Not only did you see the signs, but you also heard what was going on with him, because he expressed that he was struggling mentally. He came out and said, I'm having suicidal thoughts. I'm drowning in dark thoughts. Again, I don't want to make it seem like I'm defending this man. And I don't want to place blame on anyone. But I will say this. Anytime someone comes to you and they mention that they're struggling mentally, they're having mental health problems, and they're having these suicidal thoughts. If someone is coming to you with that, if someone is coming to you, period, just expressing how bad they're struggling mentally, you can't just brush over that. You can't just look at that and say, well, they're just having a bad day, or they're just, going, they're just having a moment. They'll get over it. Like, you can't treat it like that. Like, because 9 times out of 10, anyone who is coming to you and opening up about what they're struggling with mentally, chances are they're already on the brink of doing something. Chances are they're on the brink of doing something that is just out of the norm for them. You know, their mind can't process what's going on. They can't emotionally process what's going on. So now the only thing they know to do, because they're tired of feeling the way that they're feeling, all they know to do is just react. All they know to do is just act on whatever thoughts they're having. All they know to do is act on whatever feelings that they're having, because they can't process what's going on, and it's overwhelming. It's got the best of them. And if again, I know we're not all medical experts. We all don't have the answers when it comes to that sort of thing. But you can still show up for them in a way that can lessen the thoughts and the feelings that they're having. But you can't respond in a way that you can't respond in a way that's dismissive, right? You can't make them feel invalidated. You can't say things to make them feel invalidated. You can't treat that situation like it's nothing. Once again, I'm not defending him. I'm not defending him. Um, and I'm not placing blame on anyone. However, I just feel like anytime someone is going through a mental struggle, that is a cry for help. And sometimes a cry for help seems like it's attention seeking to a lot of people, which is why a lot of people don't take it serious, because maybe they haven't gone through any mental struggles, or maybe they're dealing with it the best way that they know how. Maybe they have better resources. Maybe they're in a better environment. Maybe they just again, maybe they just have their own way of dealing with things. But at the end of the day, when someone is really battling and really struggling and they're reaching out for help, we cannot be dismissive of that. We cannot just brush over that. And all I'm saying is this young man, he needed the help. He needed help. He needed, someone to be there for him in a way to where, uh, things just did not seem as overwhelming as it was. But honestly, just going off just from reading, about this story, it seemed like he really didn't have much help. It seemed like he really didn't have, that much of a support system. You know, I- and it's sad. Um, I but you know what though? Again, I can't defend what happened, even though yes, I know about mental health struggles. I know about having suicidal thoughts. I've acted on it. I try to take myself out. So I know about, you know, even with the whole struggling with the divorce thing. I know about that as well. And I know how much of a toll that takes on you, mentally and emotionally. And it's a lot. It is a lot, especially if there's so many layers to how it all came about. I know a thing or two about that. So I get it. I understand how, because and this is actually not the first uh, scenario. I've known of several situations like this to happen. One it was a situation similar to this happened back close to my hometown. You know, so so it happens, and it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that it happens in that way. But at the same time, it's also unfortunate that someone who is needing help and crying out for help doesn't get it, you know, and it's I don't know, it's tough. It's tough to go through that sort of thing, and again, my heart goes out to the families, the victims, anyone who was affected by this. Because it's a very sad story, very sad situation, and it's just, I mean, I don't know. It's. I mean, come on, man. These were babies. These were innocent kids who had nothing to do with what happened, or you know. I don't know, man. I'm just really praying and really um, wishing the best for the family. Um, I'm also I also want to send out my thoughts and prayers to anybody struggling with mental health and struggling with that feeling of not having support, not having, you know, uh, people to, be there for them and, to help them get through what they're going through, you know. And for those who, like I said, they've never experienced, mental health struggles in this magnitude. I pray that God gives you um, the wisdom, the discernment, the knowledge, the compassion, um, to just you know to just be there for someone, or to at least you know know how to be there for someone who's dealing with that. It's not an easy thing on both sides. The ones struggling with mental health and the ones who don't really know how to deal with, you know, someone's struggling with mental health. Because I'm pretty sure that that's a challenge as well. Learning how to be there for someone, that's going through that. So anyway, man, um, that's my time. I went longer than usual, but you know, again, being that I'm a mental health advocate, this is a very sensitive thing for me, and being that I'm a father, also a grandfather, um, I can't imagine, you know, going through something like that to the point to where you feel like you got to take the lives of others. Thankfully, I've never reached that. Um, but it's just unfortunate and it's sad, man. It's sad, and I'm man. Anyway, let me get off of here because it's eating me up right now. It really is because when I look at those kids, when I look at the ages, I'm like, God, that's terrible, man. That's terrible. But anyway, man, hope everyone is, uh, hope you have a blessed day. Hope you continue to be great. And let me just end it with this, man. Make sure that you check on your people. Make sure you check on the ones who don't speak about what they're going through. Check on those who seem like they're okay, but maybe they're not. Maybe they're not okay. Just check on your people, man. Make sure you're, you know, and it doesn't have to be every day. Let it be every now and then, you know, because you just never know the silent battles that people are going through, you know. So just check on, just check on your people, and most importantly, make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure you're taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Make sure you're doing everything necessary to, you know, maintain your peace and, make sure you're doing everything possible to take care of your mental health. It is very important. Anyway, that's my time. Let that marinate.